Divas, welcome back to the channel. The Booker Longlist has been announced. I'm sure you've been flooded with content about it, but I wanted to talk about the books and include a reading plan. Okay, I have made it my mission this year to read the entire Booker Longlist before the shortlist is announced. Can we do it? Who's to say, right? But fingers crossed. And last month, I really kind of went wild and crazy with my TBR, with my reading list. I just kind of had a pile of books and went with my spirit. And when I did that, I had started reading three or four. I got 100 pages into one of them and then kind of abandoned it, but still really want to read it. But just there was too much mamsy-pamsy lack of structure for me and what I need in my life. So for this month through basically September, I put together a spreadsheet and I divided everything out and I crafted a reading plan that will get me through, I think, all of the long list before the short list is announced. So I wanted to talk about the long list and then share my reading plan with you. And then maybe you can use it too. Who's to know? We'll see. Okay. I want to be clear that I have read two of these already, but I factored them into the plan through the discussion. So come with me on the journey, okay? The first one that I really dove into, aside from the two that I've already read, is Love Forms. Y'all, I'm going to finish this tonight. I have just a couple pages left. So everyone is claiming that it's a quiet story, a quiet novel, and sure, on the surface, but there is a tempest boiling underneath the calm, placid surface of this that is propulsive and engaging, and I am very drawn into this. And I don't think I would use the word quiet to describe it. Who's to say? We'll come back when I finish it, but don't let others' description of quiet deter you if that's not your vibe. I do think if you like quiet, you're going to find some quiet elements to this, so you will still enjoy it if you like that. But if you don't, it's propulsive and there's a tempest boiling, okay? For this one, it's roughly 72 pages a day, which I know feels like a lot, but it actually reads pretty quickly. And I think it's possible. Yes? Roughly 72 pages a day. You can do it. Yeah, it's really great. 30,000 foot view. It's about a Trinidadian woman who's, I think she's in her late 50s, and she gave a child up for adoption when she was 16, and it's about how that choice impacted the rest of her life. It's really great. It's really great. Okay, next, Universality. Okay, my suggestion is to read this in a day. Y'all, I don't know if it's beautiful where you all live, but at least here in New York, I'm able to find a beautiful day or two, sat out by the pool, finished this in, I think, 2 sittings. I read, most of it out by the pool and then had to read a little bit of it later. But all in one day, I think that's the way to read this. It made me viscerally uncomfortable, but I think it is a fascinating exploration of the racism to class war pipeline. I feel that all of the characters were so nuanced and yet also so exaggerated. We were exploring both intimate details as well as archetypes at the same time. The structure is fascinating. The first almost half, I think, is an article that a character wrote, and then the rest of the book are different characters that orbit around or in the article and their relation to it. It's really great. And I think it can be done in one day because of the way it's written. Also, because it, at least for me, was internally polarizing, I can imagine a world where if you try to stretch that out over too long, it might be harder to go back to, not because it's good, but because it makes you feel uncomfortable. I personally love that, but I have found as I've gotten older that not all people love that and being challenged in that way. So for that reason, I would say read it in one day, one sitting if possible. Because yeah, the ideas are just so complex, and there's just so much that I think it's rife for like agreement and disagreement at the exact same time. It's lovely. The same approach should be taken for Audition, okay? Audition is one of the ones that I read before the long list came out. Katie Kitamura is a diva and a half, goddess, brilliant. There's a huge narrative shift in the middle. I think it's best done in one sitting. I read this in one day. It was the way to go. It was the way to go because the two pieces are juxtaposed together. And I think that like too much time in between it all can allow for even more confusion, maybe, because from Deep Love and Affection, still a little confused, but again, in a way that like makes me so excited and intrigued. And it's like candy for my brain. Loved this. I would also suggest reading this in a single day. I think it can be done. I think it can be done. Because again, they're like beautifully written. I think, yes. Okay, next up, Flashlight. All right. Allegedly, as if this like isn't what the book is about. So the book is about, my understanding, because I've not started it yet, is a father and a daughter go walking on the beach. I think the father is carrying a flashlight. Fast forward, the daughter is discovered soaked to the bone. Father, nowhere to be seen. Donde. Who's to say? I do hear that it gets a little slow in the middle and is very character driven to a point, and then we switch over and the plot takes over and it just drives you all the way to the end. I I want to say I've heard mixed things, but I do feel like it's all positive with caveats. Yeah. So I think it should be an enjoyable reading experience. And this one, 58 pages a day. But if you think about it this way, that's like reading like 26 ish pages in the morning and then like 27 pages at night. Isn't that right? No, 24. Listen, I went to music school. The most math we had to count up to was maybe 16. And that was only when I was doing the Rake's Progress and Stravinsky like made me count crazy numbers, but normally we don't have to count above 8. So 58 divided by 2 for 29. I think that's right. I think that's right. 29 pages like in the morning and then like 29 pages at night. That feels doable. That feels possible. And then that will, anyways, all of these numbers add up to getting you there before the end of before the shortlist is announced. Okay. And then after Flashlight, I chose to go with Endling. First of all, the US cover is not tickling my fancy the same way that the UK cover is, with that like have you seen it? It's this, I'll throw it up here, but it's the like snail cloud. Obsessed. So this, I know very little about it, and I'm going to continue approaching it knowing very little about it. I was flipping through it and I thought that something was wrong with my copy because I purchased the share memoir and something was wrong with that copy, where it's like at a certain part in the book, it jumps 100 pages and the pages are upside down, but all the pages are in there. So I just had to like flip it upside down and read it wonky for 100 pages or 50 pages or something. And then it would turn back around and be fine. So it was like, oh my gosh, did that happen to Endling? Like, but it made me confused. And so, but I confirmed there's nothing wrong with my copy. It's just that she takes like the traditional form and turns it on its head. Excited. So what do I know about this? Very little. You all may know more. I'm not going to do any more research on it. I know that there are snails involved because of the little cloud in the UK cover, and I know that it breaks with form. Yeah, that's all I know, and I'm super excited about it. This one, 59 pages a day. So like that feels doable, right? Wait, 59. That makes me worried about my math for the 58. I should be able to do that. I'm not. No, I was right before. 29. Great. So this is like 59 pages a day. So you're actually getting yourself trained by reading Flashlight to also read Endling the same way. Same, even pacing. We're like doing like 59 pages a day, 58 pages a day. Honestly, 30,000 foot view, that really feels doable. And then Misinterpretation. And this one, we're reading 61 pages a day. Again, this all feels very of a piece, very normal. You're training yourself to read a solid number of pages a day. This is about a therapist whose patient's dreams start integrating themselves into her life. The world gets all topsy-turvy and she doesn't know what's real and what's fake. I've heard incredible things about this. This is one of them that I'm most excited for. Okay, so we're doing Misinterpretation. We're reading like 61 pages a day. Then we get to the South, which is this, I heard it's a like sweeping coming of age that is also just like so intimate. It's set in Malaysia. It's a gay story. I'm so excited. I have heard mixed things. So apparently this is the first in like a 4-part big quotes like series or like collection. And some folks say that it feels incomplete and it feels obvious that it's like of a piece. We'll see. That remains to be seen. Like I feel like that's something that, you know, I'm not going to know until I finish it. And this is again one we're going to read like 58 pages a day. We listen, this is like training for like a running, right? Like right now it's like we're training ourselves, we're doing 58 pages, 61 pages, 58 pages, like very doable, right? It's like, and if nothing else, consistent. Yeah. Okay. Then we have The Land in Winter. This is supposed to be one of those like very quiet, like about the mundane aspects of life. There's a giant storm that comes, and I think two couples' lives kind of start to unravel. This from description sounds a very Booker, right? It's very about like the intricacies of a relationship and like what's going on. My understanding is like within their minds and how everything kind of falls apart when they're forced to, I'm assuming, like face their realities and face the secrets that they've been holding. That is, again, we're reading like 55 pages a day. Yeah, again, we've trained for it, so it's a very doable. The next one is The Rest of Our Lives. This one is on its way to me from Blackwell, so I do not have my copy yet. I've heard that it's like a male all fours by Miranda July. I'm intrigued by that. And what does that mean? Um, I hear the similarities are that it's like in a car, so there's like some sort of road trip element, which actually reminds me a little bit of Eurotrash, which was I think longlisted, meaning I know it was nominated, I just don't think it made it to the shortlist for the International Booker this year, which I really loved. So it reminds me a little bit of that just in description, but the Miranda July all fours connection makes me a little nervous if I'm being completely honest, only because to me the magic of all fours was that it was about a perimenopausal woman imagining what would happen if she gave in to every perimenopausal impulse. I understand that men also go through their own version of that, and there are hormonal changes that come along with that, but they are not as pronounced or as studied or as vibrant as what is taking place in a woman's body. And so I'm intrigued to see if it will be as interesting an exploration. Yeah? We'll see. I'm open because like I loved all fours, and I think once I got all fours, I was like incredibly into it. So maybe that one is like 51 pages a day. Again, totally doable, depending on trim size. I guess I don't know how big it is, but yeah, it seems like it should be. And then Seascraper, which I think gets here tomorrow, maybe. I hear it's very quiet. I hear it's about an individual that has dreams to become, I believe it's a musician, and someone shows up at his home and promises him all of these things. And he's forced, or the audience is forced, or the book is forced to kind of grapple with what's true and what promises this individual is making, like how they might or might not come to fruition and the impact that that then has on their life. I think it's a nice short work that's like very compact and supposed to be very beautiful, very beautiful. And that one is like, we're reading like roughly 59 pages a day. So, and from what I've heard with the way that it moves, that's like very doable. And then last but not least, One Boat. We're reading like 56 pages a day on that. And listen, I know it's a lot, but like, the consistency is basically read roughly 50 to 60 pages a day and you can get through it. Can you fit that in? I don't know. But like, maybe one day it's 20 pages and the next day it's a little bit more. And like, the target goal is between 50 and 60 pages a day. One Boat, I have heard some negative things and like people saying it's their least favorite, but I got a DM from someone. I'll put her tag here because I know her name and I don't remember if that is her tag. She said it's like reading a magic eye. Like with the reading experience reminded her of looking at one of those magic eye posters. I'm intrigued. That made me so excited to read it and so bummed that it's getting here last. I from that description alone would have picked it up tonight, if I'm being very honest. I think that it just makes me so excited. That is why I love reading. Just something that is like totally challenges me and totally like, I don't know, forces me to look at things a different way, which actually I feel like a lot of these books on this list do that. From my understanding, the One Boat, which that one will read like roughly 56 pages a day. I hear One Boat does that. Audition for sure does that. I would argue Universality does that in terms of like making you look at challenging ideas in a new way. I hear Misinterpretation, it might do that from my understanding. I think Endling for sure does that. It's a fascinating theme that they've chosen this year. And last but not least, Flesh. To be completely honest, I have already read this one. But if you read roughly 50 pages a day, you should be able to get through this by the time the shortlist is announced. I loved this work. I think that it portrays a male, I want to say a straight male, but I feel like I've dated men who are not straight and who act like this. I feel like its depiction of a man is brilliant. The prose is so stark. This one will be the easiest 50 pages a day that you read because the prose is so artistically sparse and streamlined. I love it. I feel that it does this amazing characterization of this male and like the way he withholds so much throughout the entire work and yet then starts to ask for things that he's not giving others. It's just done and presented in a beautiful way, and also a great commentary on class, which is fascinating because that is a theme that I'm noticing through some of these that I've already seen, at least through Flesh and Universality. The class is definitely discussed in love forms. So yeah, that's fascinating. And now I know I said that was last, and I totally lied to you because we have the honker and a half of the long list, and that's The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny. Okay, this is where things get a little tricky. It's not out until the end of September. So most of you probably don't have a copy of this. I was very, very fortunate to have been sent a copy of this. I'm very grateful to the publisher for that. And what I'm planning to do, and if you have a copy of it and you would like to follow a semblance of this insane reading plan, that way I don't think it's insane because it's like between 50 and 60 pages a day, except for love forms, which is like roughly like 72, remember? But otherwise, I'm reading roughly 15 pages a day of this for the next like month and a half, 2 months. Yeah. So if you read about 15 pages a day of this, in addition to the rest of these, then you can get through all of them. I also want to acknowledge that we all have different reading speeds. So maybe it's committing to all of them except for The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny, and then choosing to read that once the shortlist is announced. Because, listen, I don't know nothing from nothing, but something in my little gut, it tells me that this is going to be on the shortlist. I could be wrong. I have no idea. That is a 30,000 foot view exploration of the Booker longlist and a reading plan that will get you through all of the long list by the time the shortlist is announced. Okay? You can do it. I can do it. I am currently on track. I think it's possible. I think we can do it. Yes? All right. Let me know in the comments if you're going to join me or if you're going to pop in for some of them and not all of them. I will absolutely do a halfway video to talk to you all about whether or not this is working or not. And then for sure do a shortlist predictions video once I finish all of these. Okay. I will talk to you all soon.